the course of the year, I have exceedingly evolved into a more superior writer. But this process wasn't quite easy. As I walked into the halls of EGHS for the first time as a vulnerable freshman, I thought of my writing as spectacular. But little did I know I had so much more to improve on. First quarter was a fresh start. I knew the basics about writing, but I wasn't really sure how I could improve. I was like a seed being buried into the ground, about to experience and bloom into something new, a better writer. I was too inexperienced and confined, attempting to sprout out of the ground, although I wasn't quite ready. I had so many questions. What was a voice? How did you analyze? And how did you not just state things as they were? Fortunately, throughout the first quarter, I was pushed to take risks and benefited from drastic amounts of practice. I'll admit, extra essays and rewrites frightened me at first. Like everyone, I was getting a taste of change. I lacked the quality to separate my writing from all the rest. In one assignment, I worked to revise this and broke out of my shell. My writing better, but how could I find my voice? Through the abundant amount of work we had to complete, in other words, practice, I found that my voice was already there. I just had to make it more radiant and unique. I also was taught how to dig beneath the surface when analyzing books such as The Catcher in the Rye and To Kill a Mockingbird. I took raging notes about themes, symbols, and connections. By digging deeper, I began to comprehend analyzation, which ended up aiding me to benefit my own writing. At the end of the first quarter, I no longer was a basic writer. I became unique, knew my voice, comprehended analyzation, and through practice, discovered how to state things in an intriguing way. I was finally ready to sprout. So second quarter begun. I got the basics down and finally sprouted. I became comfortable with my surroundings. Sure, the workload stressed me out, but I discovered that English was actually my favorite class. After extremely altering my technique of writing in quarter one, second quarter I mostly focused on practice. Not to be cliche, but we all know, practice makes perfect. By exposing myself to more and more writing, I began to grasp the concept of having a deeper meaning behind my essays and assignments. Here's an example of my essay about the Dead Poets Society in which I found a deeper meaning. Gained knowledge of how to utilize imagery in my writing. Basically, I discovered the art of painting a picture using words rather than a paintbrush. For example, I wrote, "It was covered in hundreds of lights of all colors, blanketed by all different ornaments and topped off with a radiant and glistening star. Many presents rested below it, similar to skyscrapers towering over hundreds of people in the city. Each present was encased with ornate wrapping paper, encrypted with a name tag, and sheathed with a red, lavish bow." See how something as simple as words can paint a story? So I conquered discovering a deeper meaning and how to utilize imagery and description. But still, I was not ready to evolve into a bud. Before I became a bud, there was one thing I had to defeat. There was an obstacle in my path to success, and this was my major deficiency. Unfortunately, I remained a sprout. So I was eager to become a bud and willing to do whatever it took. So I needed to resolve my deficiency. My major deficiency was transitions. I was constantly jumpy and random in my writing. which truly affected how my overall piece would sound. I needed my writing to transition smoothly and have paragraphs and sentences fit together like pieces of a puzzle. For example, my Ode to Childhood poem was going in all different directions and in need of smoother A to B transitions. When I said, when the world was a fair place, in my eyes everyone was as benevolent as an angel, and then continued describing my eyes, saying, eyes that didn't judge nor label, eyes that found the best in people, and eyes that webbed rivers. There wasn't a smooth transition, so it sounded very rowdy and jumpy. I also continued to say, eyes that sparkled and glistened as I perched upon Santa's throne, when just about everything was as fascinating as life itself. There was no transition between these two lines, and it was kind of all over the place. I needed to discover direction and smooth transitions. Even Mr. Boccato took note of it. I also noticed that on previous essays, I would always be lowered in the cohesion section on the rubric, which is a section based on the essay's transitions and rhythm. This called for action. To fix my deficiency of jumpiness, I had to do research and once and for all overcome this obstacle which was blocking my path to success. After I found effective research, I began seeing results in my transitions when I put my new knowledge into effect. I had a breakthrough, and through much work, finally turned my deficiency into a efficiency. I reached success in this area and overcame the obstacle in my path. So quarter 3 was about tending to my major deficiency, which I accomplished. So certainly, I was ready to evolve into a bud. Quarter 4 was mainly about polishing off my writing and working to reach the final stage of my growth. An important skill I learned and practiced this quarter was how to correctly complete a research paper. I accomplished this through hours and hours of Purdue OWL research. I was able to educate myself with the proper MLA format and become knowledgeable of how to appropriately transition between other people's thoughts and ideas in research papers, and how to give these people credit in works cited. Previously, I had simply thought that you were supposed to almost create your own ideas about a controversial topic, when really the author of a research paper's main role is to funnel and organize the ideas and thoughts of other credible people effectively. My evolution as a writer this quarter and this year did not occur just from simply mastering formal essays and polishing my writing technique. I've not only sprouted as a writer, but I've evolved and developed as an overall person. In Honors English, we expose ourselves to mature discussions, analyzations, and topics that I would have never been able to rationalize in quarter 1 or if I did not take this class, which may be one of the biggest factors as to how my writing has improved and how I've evolved from a seed to a sprout to a bud, and now have finally bloomed and become the writer in which I am today.